Hi guys, and welcome to my review of Cobra Kai season one. Man, it took me forever to finally watch this show. I also don't want this review to go on for too long. I want it to be like 20 minutes at the most, not go over. But I'm also trying to aim for a lower bar as well, like 10 to 15 minutes. I'm gonna try my best to do that because there is a lot to talk about since it's a TV show instead of a movie. But still, when I have a lot to talk about, I have a lot to talk about. So it tends to go like in the 20 to 25 minutes, range. But yeah, I'll try my best. So basically, this is set after, I guess the first movie. I don't know if the ignoring the second and third one, maybe in the other seasons that address those movies, but it mainly focuses on everything that happens in the first movie. And in some ways, it's kind of like the first movie, but then there's a few things that are changed. Like, for starters, it's called Cobra Kai because we're basically following Johnny. Basically, would you say he's the villain of, I guess, the original movie? Since this was the actual person who used to bully him. Well, bully Daniel Luso, the main character of the first movie in Karate Kid. But this time we're actually following, Johnny, the one who used to bully Daniel in the movie, which I recently reviewed, the 1984 film. And basically, after his dojo ended and life went on for him, let's just say it hasn't been easy for him. Where for Daniel, we see that he's basically has had a great life. I guess the saddest thing that's happened, other than all of the success that he's got, is that his sensei Miyagi passed away, which sucks. Because man, if he was still alive in real life, because he passed away in real life, which rest in peace. Like he probably definitely would have been in this show. So it just sucks, man. Such an awesome sensei, one of the best, live action senseis. It just sucks that we couldn't have him for this show, even though we do get one of the senseis back. But for Cobra Kai, at the end credits, where we see John, John is old mentor, well master. But I'm mainly just going to talk about all the stuff that I haven't talked about yet. So this is, well, like I said, because I was going to mention the boy Miguel, but first I'm just going to talk about Johnny's life. So yeah, it hasn't really been a good life for him. Like things has just gone downhill like so much. Like he's living in a crappy place. He's got a crappy job. Well, electrician isn't really a crappy job, but it's not really something that he inspired to be. It's better than nothing. But still, he's kind of getting like money from his abusive father, which we find out that you know Johnny actually did like back in the Karate Kid timeline in the 80s, or a bit, well, from because we basically see him when he was a kid, and in the times when he was a teen, when he was bullying Daniel. He actually lived in a nice home, and it kind of explains why he had those bikes. Who knows if he got all those bikes for his friends as well. But yeah, like the real reason why Johnny was such a bully back in the day is because he had an abusive father. The way how he used to treat him, it just made him into the person he is. Because in real life, that's kind of true. Like people, like kids who were abused by their parents, they tend to take it out on people, like say at school, and that's what creates bullies in a way. That's one of the reasons of why bullies exist, and that's basically why Johnny, was the way how he was. But he did go a bit too far. But Johnny kind of explains his reasonings for bullying Daniel. So basically, Ali Mills from the first movie, Daniel's girlfriend in the first movie, because originally that was basically Johnny's girlfriend. But Ali Mills probably couldn't stand Johnny, so she probably just wanted to get away from him anyway. And when Daniel first meets Ali Mills, like Johnny's just arguing with Ali as well. So it's not like things are working out for their relationship. But Ali Mills did like him at first, but yeah, Johnny Lawrence was just too much of a bad boy, so she just couldn't stand him. And Daniel was just such a change. He seemed like a great guy, so Ali Mills was starting to fall in love with him. And you can kind of see like these pieces that fit why he treated Daniel so badly. and what it's done to his life later on. So I'm just gonna go for this real quick. So basically, like I said, his father used to abuse him, because he did live in a nice house, but it doesn't matter if you have like a nice house. It still doesn't mean that you had a good life. So things are kind of like the opposite way. Because Daniel, when he first came to the city that he was in Karate Kid, he was basically, I guess, the one who was less fortunate, but he still had his mother for there for him. His dad died, but his mother, like I said, was there for him. So it was a bit hard. It was a bit hard for him not having a father figure. But his mom still did a pretty good job. But then like I said, even though he didn't really have money, he still turned out better than Johnny. And like I said, I explained the reasons why the way Harry was in the original movies. It's because of his father, really, and his master. Yeah, his master, his dojo master, in Cobra Kai, he wasn't really a good example as well of a father figure. But in a way, like his real father and then his master who trained him are basically both of his fathers that he's had, and none of them have really been a good father to him. It just sucks that Johnny didn't really get someone like Miyagi, because Miyagi was just probably one of the best masters ever. Like without him, I don't know how Daniel's life would have turned out. He taught him balance, and without that, like he wouldn't really have balance in his life, and that's why later on, in Johnny's life, like his life's a mess. And that was probably like the most important lesson that he taught Daniel, other than karate and that wax off, wax on, secretly learning karate. Which they kind of rehashed that when Daniel's training like his student when he gets back into karate, because I guess I'll talk a bit about Daniel now in the modern time of what Cobra Kai is setting. And I still haven't talked about Miguel, and I still need to talk about him on Johnny's side. But yeah, Daniel basically has like a car business now, and he just got really big with that. People do know what he did back in the day, winning those All Valley tournaments. Like he won 2, so it's like the first movie and the third movie, basically. So that means the third movie does count then. So probably the trilogy does count, like the Karate Kid trilogy, all of it. Yeah. And just who knows if like we'll get more mentions to those sequels, those Karate Kid sequels in the other seasons. Yeah. Also that time when Daniel went to Miyagi's country, and that Mortal Kombat ending, if you know what I mean. Well, there was no brutality, but it was basically a Mortal Kombat. But the battle to the death. But yeah, character review, I guess Karate Kid 2 tomorrow, or maybe Friday when I release it. When I release this, it's Thursday, so yeah. But yeah, Daniel basically has like a wife, he has kids, he has a nice home. He has it all. But the thing that I wish he still had was his master. And we do see him a few times go to, Mr. Miyagi's grave. Remembering all the, lessons that he learned from Mr. Miyagi. Yeah. And it's someone that he's never really going to forget. Like, probably like the most important person in his whole life. And he's always going to remember those lessons that he was taught from Mr. Miyagi. But yeah, eventually I guess Daniel runs into Johnny. But before I talk about that, let's talk about a bit about Miguel. I guess the character who actually brings Johnny out of his depression, if I should call it that. Because, Johnny's life's just rough at this point. Like, we're watching this episode because I did try to watch Cobra Kai last year, but I just couldn't get into it. And I was watching a lot of things as well. And this was like a YouTube original, so I kind of had like YouTube Premium, so I was going to give it a try. It's good now that, Cobra Kai's on Netflix now, because, I use like Netflix a lot. And I'm finally watching it now, but yeah, back then, I wasn't really, because I mainly focused on making videos than watching stuff from YouTube. So that's why I probably didn't watch it properly. Because yeah, 2020 was a year for where I watched less YouTubers and more like watched my followers than actual YouTubers, which yeah, that was a change. I am watching YouTubers that I grew up with now, again. Yeah, I was mainly watching you guys and your content, your awesome content. But yeah. So Miguel is basically this kid who's kind of has like a similar story to Daniel, where he came to this city and he just started to get bullied by these kids, and then that's when he sees that well, basically Johnny he basically sees Miguel getting bullied outside of a store. Also, before then, like I guess Johnny gets this badly done pizza, like just one slice, and the way how this guy just treats it, like that shop owner for this whole season is pretty weird. He even sees like fake IDs from a kid, and he's just like, whatever. Like, what kind of shopkeeper is that? But hey, maybe I should go to that shop one day. I'm just joking around. But yeah, basically he sees Miguel getting beat up by because he Miguel basically lives next to, you know, Johnny, like because Miguel lives with his mum and grandma. I think, yeah, I think that's his grandma. Yeah, he does live with his mum, but I think that's the grandma as well. Like, she's a cool character. Yeah, basically Johnny helps him out and kicks, their asses, the people who are bullying Miguel. And then that's when he wants to learn how to fight from Johnny. But, at first he doesn't really want to do anything like that. But then, that's when the situation where, because Johnny Carr does get messed up from what happened by, those kids. Also, oh wait, no. It was actually when, yeah, Samantha basically, because yeah, I did mention Daniel had kids, so Samantha's one of them. Then there's this younger kid who's a boy, like that's the brother. He was like someone who didn't really care about karate until he actually seen the All Valley tournament at the end of the season, because he's just kind of like a kid who plays games and stuff, like doesn't really care about those old time stuff, karate. Yeah, until he actually seen it, which yeah, lol. He also likes to eat a lot, but okay. But yeah, Samantha is the more interesting character out of his family. There is his wife as well. Is it Amanda? If I'm not getting mixed up. Like, I guess she can be okay at times, but yeah, it's really Samantha out of Daniel's family who shines the most. Yeah, through the season, because she knows karate as well. Because basically, Daniel kind of passed some of the things that he learned from his master Miyagi to his daughter Samantha. It's kind of weird, like, well, it's because she's kind of grown up with money, which is something that Daniel didn't have, and that's why he's not really going to be. Because even when he sees Johnny again, and basically his car gets messed up by, well, Johnny kind of realizes in the moment, which this is the film with this season. There's a lot of convenient moments, like, because so basically I was kind of getting mixed up with the bullies, messing up Johnny's car when it was actually Daniel's daughter, because basically Daniel's daughter, Samantha, she kind of hangs out with the one crowd, like the bully type of characters, because even these characters kind of mess with Samantha's old friend, who becomes an awesome character later on in the season when she joins Cobra Kai, because she's basically the coolest thing about this show is that, and what Johnny does, because at first he's not really considering this, is that he makes people who I guess you'd view as losers, like the nerds, the geeky kids, just those type of kids, which I have no offense to them. Like, good for them, because they're gonna get somewhere in life compared to all these bullies and just oh my god, just the popular kids. What I'm trying to say. But yeah, basically, he kind of gives them the power to fight against them. By that's when he makes his dojo first, when he finally gets Cobra Kai back, which Daniel's not really happy about that. And I haven't really mentioned much about the car incident. When basically Daniel's daughter Samantha was driving with friends who are not really good people. They kind of mess up Johnny's ride, and then that's when he needs to get his ride fixed, and then that's when he kind of ends up in one of Daniel's you know vehicle businesses, and he's kind of forced to get it fixed by Daniel, because he just feels ashamed when he sees anything related to Daniel and how his life's just turned out and where he is now. Also knowing that he got beat by Daniel, and could you say since then his life was falling apart? well, because he does fight Daniel again in the third one. I can't really remember how the third one goes again, but it's a sequel. It's better than the next Karate Kid, but still a sequel. I'm not really a big fan of the new girlfriend that Daniel gets. Yeah, yeah. It's just basically Karate Kid 1, but not done as good. Yeah. Now this is how we do something after Karate Kid Part 1. Like, this show's brilliant, man. It just does it so well. Seeing them 40 years later, the same actors, which, man, Daniel LaRusso's aged so well. It looks like he's in his 30s instead of. Is he in his 50s? I can't really remember. But he still looks young. I guess I could say the same for Johnny, but man. I'm not sure if they're both in their 50s though. But yeah. Alright, so where should I continue from now? Because I've kind of jungled up things, like the way how I should have explained them. Like, I should have did it in order. But it's just, so much to talk about. Oh god. It's gonna go over. It's probably gone over 20 minutes already. And I feel like I've only covered, I'm not even sure about half yet. So I'm just gonna try to speed along. Yeah. Alright, so where should I start from? So Miguel, basically, yeah, this is when things kind of get a bit crazy with the story, with the connections and stuff, and conveniences. So I'm just gonna try to go through it like fast. So at this point, I guess that's when Johnny's opening his dojo, and Miguel's learning karate from how his sensei taught him. So yeah, you can imagine how Johnny was like. From if you've seen Karate Kid, you can kind of imagine how Johnny was kind of like his master John. So yeah, no surrender, no mercy. Basically, that's what I'm gonna say. But if you've watched the show, you kind of know how everyone's training was, with Miguel being the first student. Then the West, how they got treated. Man, basically acting like bullies. Right, he's acting like the people who basically bully them to make them stronger, and some people kind of quit because of that. But then when they see a video of Miguel kicking these people's ass, who was, I guess, because basically Samantha was seeing this person who she then shows to her family, and then you kind of sees that he might be an okay guy, and then he kind of says something about, oh, this is the moment when this bully character kind of says something about Johnny, kicking his ass because he kind of left out the part what he did to Miguel when he was bullying him. So he just thinks that Johnny's, just up to his old, tricks again from what he used to do when he was bullying Daniel. So he does like have a grudge for Johnny like this whole season, and you can understand why, because if you've watched the first movie, man, Daniel had it rough, man. Like, just rewatching it recently, like, wow, he got bullied a lot by Johnny. Like, he didn't leave him alone, and it got to the point where he had to hide from Johnny until Miyagi like proper taught him karate, so he could actually fight back. And he kind of has to agree to a tournament so he doesn't get like jumped by, because it's not just Johnny, like he has like a whole Cobra Kai gang beside him. So even if he doesn't knock out Johnny, he's still gonna have to deal with all of them. But man, Johnny does train Miguel well when that spoon fight happens. So basically, I still didn't even get to the point. So Samantha basically was seeing this person. Like I already said, the other part with Daniel meeting him and stuff. And then when they go out in like to the cinemas, this guy tries to hit on Samantha, but then she doesn't really want to do that. And then he just spreads rumors about her being a slut or something, and that just goes on. Everyone's just being mean to her basically. So she's basically getting bullied at that point. And so like her friends are gonna care since they're kind of bullies as well. The popular girls, yeah. And she still wants to be friends with them when they don't even really care about her. And they kind of believe the rumors as well. And I guess there's moments where she's trying to talk to her old best friend, but it's like she doesn't really care until she's getting bullied herself, which her friend does get bullied a lot by the people that Samantha's hanging out with. Like even though she does feel bad about what's going on, she doesn't really do much to stop it. So there is things about Samantha that I'm not really a big fan of in this season. Yeah. I don't hate the character. She's okay. It's just for being Daniel LaRusso's, daughter, and you could say, well, it seems like she was going to be the successor to Daniel, but it seems like we get like a twist where we meet this character called, oh man, I don't even know if I'm gonna say his name. Is it Wobby? Yeah, yeah, it's Wobby, right? Yeah. We get revealed this character Wobby is actually Johnny's son, and it's kind of going downhill like how his dad did, stealing and stuff, and handing him with the one crowd. But then like he tries to do something where he wants to get back at his dad by working with Daniel because out of everyone, like Johnny hates Daniel, so doing this like it would make his dad angry, especially when he sees that Miguel's kind of becoming like a son to Johnny, because Johnny does try to mend things with his son, but he hasn't really been there for his son for like 16 years or so. And when he tries to care now, like it's always this age, like 40 or so, also where some fathers who are not really, who haven't really been there for their kids, that tend to try then, but it's kind of already too late. Yeah, that kind of situation. And the mother's not any better. She's kind of like a, oh, like she's the actual slut basically, sleeping with men for money and stuff. Yeah, basically a prostitute. And that's why the son kind of hangs around with the one crowd, but then he meets Daniel and sees how much of a great guy he is. And when he's supposed to, when his friends tell him to steal from Daniel, he doesn't want to do it, and I guess fights back when he actually learns a few things from Daniel. Because he starts from working with him to becoming really close with Daniel. And then that's when he starts to teach him the skills that he learned from Mr. Miyagi, even the wax on, wax off, which was a funny scene. Yeah. Basically, a lot of the moments that we've seen in the first movie with training, like we basically see it with Wobby and Daniel, which is cool. Like a lot of the lines that they recall and everything, and when he's cutting the tree, like those moments, very special, done so well. Yeah, I think this review's gone on for really long. So basically, it becomes like a basically his student, and he eventually goes to the All Valley tournament when the new ones come in. And the Cobra Kai, like they can't really, they got like a lifetime ban, so like Johnny has to sort that out. But then Daniel's there to stop it, because when he finds out that Cobra Kai's around, he's not really gonna allow it. So he tries to stop it, but then like Johnny kind of tells what he's trying to do with these kids, because the way how they've been treated, he really wants them to have the powerful ones and compete in this tournament, because man, these kids have been through a lot, so they do deserve to be a part of this. And he is trying to be different, but then some of his teachings kind of rub off badly to Miguel mostly, because Miguel seemed like a kid who was going to be that nice guy. It just kind of switches as the season goes on. Like Wobby, it seems like he was going to be the one who just wants, just, I don't even know how should I explain Wobby's character at first to then what he becomes when Daniel teaches him balance, because before then you could say Miguel was more like, well, Miguel's more like a Wobby at the end, but then Wobby's more like Miguel at the beginning, and that's kind of the best way I can explain it with their character change, and it does make sense, I guess. And from Johnny being his teacher and everything of how he should treat life, because life doesn't really give you mercy, because life can be unfair, and because Miguel and Samantha end up together, and then something happens where Samantha gets in trouble when the mother finds out about the car accident with Johnny, so she gets grounded, and then Miguel's kind of getting mad that she's not responding, and he gets drunk, and then Miguel kind of sees her with Wobby, but she doesn't even know who this person is. And then he kind of ends up drunk when I guess when Wobby helps Samantha sneak out to a party. They kind of meet up, and then things go one from there, and they basically break up. Yeah, because he basically pushes Samantha to the ground accidentally, and then after that, like they just leave the party. Also, the ones who I guess you would call the losers are kind of like the winners now, since they're throwing their own party, and all the cool kids, well, who used to be the cool kids, are not so cool anymore. And also, Samantha's friend kind of gets like a Reggie on one of the mean girls. No, that scene, lol. Yeah, she's a cool character. But yeah, I guess I'm just gonna talk about the All Valley moment then. Like that was done so well. I kind of wish they could play You're the Best Around, but man, those fights were awesome. So there's one dojo that I can't really remember the name right now. There's basically Daniels and there's Cobra Kai, but it's only like well, the oh yeah, I kind of missed one more thing. I have to say this. So yeah, so basically, Daniel doesn't even know that Wobby is Johnny's son. So you know, you can kind of tell how that went, and Daniel not really being happy about that. But in the end, he's still his student, so he wants to be there for him. Because when Robbie goes, he's just fighting for himself. He doesn't really have a dojo. But then, later on in the fight, in one of his fights, like Daniel ends up supporting him because he can tell that he's not really a big fan of his father and stuff. Especially when there's a moment where Robbie gets injured and his father, runs over to him, because it's like in that moment he's realizing that what I've been doing with these kids, like I've made them so ruthless. I feel like I'm rehashing the past from my master, which we, like I said, we see him at the end, which is cool. Because in the end, oh yeah, I didn't even mention much about Hawk. Like he was one of those, he was one of like Miguel's friends. Yeah, because there's Miguel, there's Hawk, and then there's that other guy who is more like a weird kid, I should say. Especially that scene when he's at the party and he's trying to talk to one of the popular girls, and it's really awkward. I do like him, but I can't see him ever fighting. No way. I don't. It doesn't seem like his kind of thing. He's one of the people who leave Cobra Kai anyway when he tries to give it a chance because of Johnny's techniques of teaching. Yeah, he isn't about that life. But yeah, Hawk. He starts from a guy who just got bullied to death with how that thing on his lip looks like he got bullied by that, but in the moment he started to get like a haircut, like a hawk, basically a mohawk, and a tattoo on his back, which his family doesn't even know about. Man, he gets like a girlfriend and everything. He just becomes like an awesome character. And I heard that he becomes better in season 2. So yeah, I can't wait to watch season 2. Man, this review's probably gone over 25 minutes now. Yeah, basically. So I'm just gonna say how the tournament goes. So Cobra Kai. So yes, they lose a lot of their members, but eventually there's like 3 remaining. Um, oh, at that moment when the little kid's fighting, damn, he did all right, man. I wish he still kind of ended up victorious, but the other dojo kind of beat him. Daniel's student like Wobby, he did good for the most part. Like he basically beat most of them basically, yeah. And then Cobra Kai, like they was dominating for the most part in it. And then that's when we get to the big fight because Hawk gets disqualified for doing a illegal move basically. So that was kind of the sign that, man, what have I done to these kids? I've made them so ruthless. Also, Samantha's friend, like she gets pretty fast. She like wins 2 fights, but she's still kind of let down that she still loses. But man, she did pretty good, like winning 2 fights. Like if that was me, like wow, I'd be impressed with myself. All the things that she's done from episode 1 to now, like stepping up to the bullies that bullied her and winning 2 fights in the All Valley tournament, like that's still impressive. Like she still kind of helped her team. Well, basically at the end, like it's proper intense. Like I was thinking, like, man, who is really gonna win this time? Is it gonna be Daniel's student? Because you'd think that, because he's basically Daniel Wobby at this point, and then Miguel's basically Johnny, because Johnny's just become like just so ruthless at this point, and he's still mad about Samantha too. So it's just crazy, like his character evolution. Like I just don't know how that's gonna go in season 2, man, and if it can make them act, like how there was more like before. But yeah, we're gonna see how Hawk is, man. Like these are actual the main characters, and they feel more like the antagonist really still. But then, because this is not what Johnny wanted, but what do you think was going to happen if you're kind of teaching him similar to the way how your master taught you? Of course, it was going to end up like this. Because, but still, like, in this epic fight, like, Miguel's actually the one who wins. But man, Robbie did definitely put up a good fight, and Daniel was still proud of him. Um, yeah, so Miguel does help him win, and for like I guess the first time in like 30 to 40 years, Cobra Kai win the All Valley Karate Championship, and that's what puts him back in top. Still, like Daniel's student Bobby, he did a good job, and became second place all on his own because he had no one. It was just like him, and this time Daniel is gonna get more people on their side, so Samantha's probably gonna be on the side as well, on Daniel's side, because with how things are with Samantha and Miguel, yeah, he's definitely gonna have his daughter on his side, and she's definitely gonna kick ass since she can fight as well. We didn't really get to see a fight in season one, unfortunately. Like, I wish there was a moment where she just beats up her bullies, but yeah, it's not like they could fight back. Yeah, I think she only fights people who, because that's the thing. That's probably why we didn't really get to see a fight at all. Is because Daniel taught her the right way. Because Miyagi always used to say that you should always use karate for defense, not for fighting back, and that because Cobra Kai are basically the opposite. They use it to fight people, even if they don't even deserve it in the moment. Yeah, so yeah. And that's when Johnny realizes that his teachings, he's kind of done it a bit wrong. And when he sees his son hurt, like he tries to reach him, but he's with Daniel now. And we'll just see how their relationship ends up in season 2. And then, like I said, like we see the old Master John come back, since they're back on top now, and I guess he's gonna help him stay on top. So I'm really excited to see Johnny Sensei again in Cobra Kai season 2. So yeah, I guess that wraps it all up. I'm trying to think if I missed anything, but I don't think I did. I think that's everything. But yeah, it's been a long enough review, so yeah, I'm just gonna end it here. I'll try to make season 2 shorter, but because man, trying to review a whole show of Cobra Kai it's pretty hard without making it too long, man. But yeah, I guess that's it. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. I'll see you in my Karate Kid part 2 review. This will definitely be uploaded in Thursday because it's gonna be 12 right now where I am. So yeah, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.